it's almost like mainstream New Zealander are just like got this wall up and saying, oh, did that happen? Have we fixed it up? To make us feel better.
Last week, Feke personally presented the Governor-General with the final report and recommendations from the Royal Commission of Inquiry into Abuse in Care.
It will be revealed in the report that over 250,000 were abused. So, yeah, care is a bit of the wrong word for that. That type of care wasn't good for us, wasn't good for New Zealand as a society, and we're seeing the impact of that today.
250,000. Feke, a former gang member and career criminal, was once a ward of the state himself.
The worst thing as a kid, at that age, was not exactly knowing what was going on. I remember all the, you're now made a ward of the state under section whatever, and I just, all that was blurred as I saw my parents walking out of the courthouse, and I was like, where's Mum going? What's she doing? Why aren't I going with her?
As a senior advisor to the inquiry, Feke's job was to reach out to other survivors from gang, Rainbow, Disabled and Pacifica whānau to put their stories of abuse on record. And that proved harrowing for many.
Even with my lived experience, reaching out to them, it was still hard to bring them together. And I've talked to some of our Pacific survivors to encourage them to come forward. Because our people hold our religious leaders in such esteem order, people will just won't come forward.
Yeah.
Not only because of the shame behind it, but because they'll bring their family into disrespect, disrepute.
Yes.
Last year, the Commission attended a special hearing hosted by and dedicated to gang whānau.
We all know what it was like. We all know what it done to us. We all know the effects of it.
The result of several trauma noho held over a number of years. Hundreds turned out, and space was made for wahine to speak.
Well, this is the first time that gang whānau have gathered today to talk about something like this.
Many of us are on the same page of the same experiences, just because we're different colours, it doesn't mean we don't have that one love. It's been a long time coming. I've waited years to be able to share my experiences in state care. I've worked really hard over the last 18 months with my ACC psychologists and counsellors to put together my 74-page submission. 74 pages of hurt, abuse, constant trauma.
And while society grapples with the culture of gangs, the inquiry revealed that a full 80 to 90% of members in Māori gangs had been in state care. Hugely telling.
If your father's been in care, the chances that or your grandfather's been in care, that increases the chances that you'll be in care as a child.
I think it's really important to understand that many gang members have been in state care, and when they were in state care, they should have been provided for and loved. But that didn't happen. There was a lot of abuse and neglect, and that created, in many ways, the gangs that we have today. So Kiwis don't know about this. They need to be aware of it.
The one thing I want to say to New Zealand is that the gangs are here to stay. I'm not going to get rid of them. No amount of law or policies you're going to create or invent that's going to stop the gangs from existing in this country. It's too late. We should have thought about that the way we cared for our kids back in the 60s and 70s. What we can do is work with them to see if there is a better way of acceptance, it's a better way of operating within the gang whānau. We all know that the gangs are part of the drug and all the harm that's going on, but there are lots of members that aren't. And so, work together to create a better environment. Why not?
Most importantly, what we always hear from them is they want to end the abuse in care. So they want to have a central role in ending abuse for their whānau and stopping that intergenerational link that we keep seeing.
What you should be doing is coming to us, okay? You want to solve the problem of gangs in New Zealand, you want to solve the problems of homelessness. Look at those ones of us who have actually experienced it and been through it ourselves, okay? All these fellas sitting down there in Wellington on their comfy seats, they've got no f***ing idea.
But it's the government, men and women in power in Wellington, who are making the decisions.
Gang patches will be banned in public and police will be given extra powers to stop gang members congregating.
Christopher Luxon revealed his plan to have more cops on the beat and offered details of a military-style academy for serious young offenders.
We're taking them out of the community so they don't cause harm in the community, and we're making powerful, targeted interventions in those young people's lives and giving them the very best shot to turn their lives around. And I don't care what you say about whether it does or doesn't work. We can have that intellectual conversation all day long, but we are, damn it, going to try something different because we cannot carry on getting the results that we've been getting.
You know, when you hear talk about the establishment of military-style academies, what do you think?
Our report will point to those boot camps that never worked. All that happened there was horrendous abuse. And whakapakari in Great Barrier Island is a classic example. That was considered a boot camp. What happened there was just horrendous. A lot of these perpetrators that ran these camps, that ran these boys' homes, you know, a lot of them have passed away and are dead. And a lot of them got away with it. Nobody was ever charged. What about the survivors and the pain and the trauma that they've had to deal with over time? And so, you know, we have to be part of the solution. We can't be just throwing out these, let's make bigger prisons, let's create boot camps. Where's the evidence that those things work?
We are actually the experts in our own condition, and the government and others should be looking to us to find the solutions, because we know what works. Okay, we've been through it, we've experienced it, we've survived it, so we know what the best outcomes could be and how to better prevent these things.
Since the gang hui last year, grotesque revelations of all kinds of abuse have kept on coming. Churches and faith-based institutions, schools, foster homes, disability centres and youth justice facilities, health camps, places of trust. Nowhere seemed immune. It's been that widespread and gone on for that long. The other thing that struck me was the normalisation of abuse was a big barrier to get through, I guess, to understand that that actually wasn't normal.
Sexual abuse, violence abuse, neglect, culture abuse, all those things became normalised to us, just in the way that the perpetrators of that got away with it. Was normal too. So we thought, oh yeah, right. So they can get away with it, we can get away with things as well. These are all thoughts and behaviours and attitudes that start to create who we are at that age.
Equally disturbing is how the cycle of abuse and violence continues as the victims themselves become perpetrators.
So, you know, you've got men and women out there who were abused. They're in their 70s, 60s. What's happening? The impact of it is generational now. You may have up to 3 or 4 generations of whānau living with undiagnosed trauma. So there's no healing there.
Māori, as the Commission found, are once again overrepresented. But children entrusted into so-called care also came from beyond our shores. Did you hear things during this whole process that were new to you?
Because New Zealand administers some of those countries like Cook Islands, Tukalao, Niue. So part of the agreement was bringing some children over here to do their education, which they did. They brought children over here, but instead of letting them stay with their families, they took them to this school, which was a state care facility for boys and girls up in the Wairarapa somewhere. So the story will come out. I mean, they gave a testimony to that. And so that, yeah, that in itself is like you to remove these children from their homeland and put them into state care without any reason or because we're going to give them education.
Feke is adamant New Zealanders can't afford to turn a blind eye.
It's important for New Zealand society to engage with this report, to understand the enormity, the horrendous abuse that happened to many of our children while in care, because the impact of crime statistics today, that's the impact of all this. The expectation is that whichever government, whichever government of the day, be honest and be able to create a redress system, process that's fit for the survivors.
Feke attributes his own healing to aroha and the power of whānau, something not all survivors could count on. As for justice, sure, but justice for all, he's seen no evidence of that.
I've heard a lot of talk about these, we're all equal under the same law, but if we think about that, you think about what we as kids, the abuse that we suffered, and we watched those perpetrators get away with it. So, equal under whose law, I'm not a law expert, but every time you hear in courts a guy doing an aggravated robbery, the guys that ran in and did it, the one that drove them there are just as culpable and they get the same amount of time. But yet, when you get driven to care by the state and dropped off, and they abuse us, where's the responsibility for the state? It's nowhere. So how does that make us feel that they're getting abused? We've got to be right about this. We've got to be right. We've got to do things our tika, and that redress has to be right for our survivors.